Right now, a single company handles over 91% of every single pound of cargo launched into Earth's orbit. And that company, if they pause operations for a single month, global logistics go dark. National security communication links will freeze, and the space economy comes crashing back down to Earth. The financial press is selling this as a fascinating space race between billionaires, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. But institutional capital knows the race is already over. So while retail investors are looking at the space economy as the next big thing after AI, a little secret is hiding in plain sight. A system designed to bleed public aerospace companies dry and monopolize the future of global data distribution. Look at this chart. This isn't a healthy, competitive commercial market. It's a textbook monopoly. Legacy companies like United Launch Alliance or Jeff Bezos' new company, Blue Origin, they are being framed consistently as competitors to SpaceX, but they aren't. And we saw with SpaceX's IPO in their S1 filings that they are not generating real wealth from rocket engines at all. The launch business is merely a loss leader for a far more aggressive, data-driven future in space. So exactly what is the space economy? Well, we're going to explore that in this video by breaking down SpaceX's actual numbers and going through their latest financial filings. SpaceX is a rocket launch company, but there's so much more than that. They didn't beat their peers. They successfully monopolized the entire space industry's main, most profitable sectors. And they built a barrier to entry so high that even trillion-dollar sovereign nations can't afford to keep up with them. So let's break down the actual space economy value chain. The global space economy has already scaled past $600 billion. But let's look at where that money is actually broken down into. Satellite and infrastructure, telecommunications captures over 60% of the entire space economy. Launch services, like Falcon 9 rockets, account for just a small slice, under 15%. So this brings us to our main point. The revenue is highly concentrated. Out of the company's $18.67 billion in total revenue, Starlink alone accounted for over $11.4 billion. That means that over 60% of this business is actually a highly recurring, stable, high-margin software telecommunications business. Satellite internet, right? Let's look at the actual launch costs over time. During the era of the space shuttle, putting a single kilogram of payload into low orbit can cost up to $54,000. But with Elon Musk's Falcon 9 rockets, they crush that ceiling down to $2,700 per kilogram. And their dream with the Starship's super heavy configuration is to bring that cost even lower to under $100 per kilogram. This is the space launch version of Amazon's one-day delivery. SpaceX launches its own Starlink satellites using its reusable flight hardware at the lowest possible cost. This is estimated by insiders to be roughly $14 to $15 million per satellite or rocket launch. But meanwhile, to compete with SpaceX, any private or public government actually needs to use SpaceX's launch services at full cost to launch their own satellites into space. So SpaceX is charging their own rivals a premium to fund the exact infrastructure competition to their own Starlink business. See, a little bit of a conflict of interest. SpaceX should be reporting record-breaking net profit margins, right? Wrong. SpaceX is actually showing a net loss in their financial reports of over $4.9 billion. And we're waiting for the next earnings call come August to see how this has actually moved since they've IPO'd. The financial media won't look at this and actually explain to you why SpaceX is so unprofitable. You know, they're operating a net loss because they're actively using their commercial launch and Starlink monopoly to subsidize XAI. They're using their predictable cash flows and millions of global internet users and redirecting those profits to a very, very expensive, high cap AI compute play, or what Elon calls data centers on the moon. So what exactly is the space economy? Because historically, space was publicly funded scientific research that relied on public tax dollars. And today, the real space economy has pivoted to a very highly commercialized enterprise marketplace that relies on AI and big data in order to make record profits. So how do we actually gauge which companies in the space economy that's emerging will actually deliver real value in the future when one company already monopolizes two of the main sectors? We can't buy SpaceX on the NASDAQ now without buying into their AI data center business and XAI. So here's how we at Breaking Markets would dive directly into the emerging space economy without SpaceX. First, avoid the launch sector entirely. Buying an early stage startup rocket company to compete with SpaceX when they already have 91% market share is folly. Instead, we'll allocate our capital upstream to the specialized equipment and component vendors who sell necessary critical hardware to every launch provider, whether it's SpaceX or Blue Origin or governments and NASA. Companies like Rocket Lab, ticker RKLB, they're currently trading at just $11.40, and they have successfully transitioned from a simple launch startup to a high-margin subsystem supplier. Second, short traditional telecom companies that rely purely on population growth and compete against Starlink and space telecommunications services. Companies like Verizon, AT&T, Telus, and Rogers in Canada, they will see increased competition from satellite TV, satellite internet, and more in the future, and their business can only grow by adding more people. If you think the future of the space economy is very bright, and SpaceX will lead the way to revolutionize how we commercialize space, then only time will tell. You can buy and hold SpaceX, that's easy. But regardless, the $600 billion space economy will likely continue to grow, requiring specialty parts, equipment from some of the smallest high-tech micro-cap stocks on the market today. Companies that will also be instrumental in the launch control and communications of another closer-to-home industry, commercial and military drones. So subscribe and ring our bell for our next video on who is positioned to win in the autonomous drone race industries.